The price of compassion. The UNSS Hope Eternal hung in space like a pristine white jewel, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. At 12 kilometers long, it was humanity's greatest achievement in medical technology, a ship dedicated entirely to healing and research. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching as another transport of wounded arrived from the Rigel conflict zone. Director Chen, the Andromeda ward is prepped for the new arrivals, her AI assistant IRS announced. Preliminary scans indicate severe plasma burns and genetic degradation from experimental weapons. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, steeling herself for another long shift. After 15 years as the director of Earth's flagship hospital ship, she thought she'd seen everything. The Rigel conflict was proving her wrong daily. In the command center 6 decks below, Captain Michael Rodriguez reviewed the latest security reports. The Hope Eternal's position near the neutral zone made some of his officers nervous, but their mission was clear: provide medical care to anyone who needed it, regardless of species or allegiance. "Sir, we're picking up unusual movement from the Kraxan border," Lieutenant Park reported, her fingers dancing over the holographic display. 3 warships, Devastator class. Rodriguez frowned. The Kraxan Empire had been increasingly hostile toward human expansion, but they'd always respected medical vessels. "Standard protocol, Lieutenant. Broadcast our status and intentions on all frequencies." Across the galaxy in the Kraxan Imperial Palace, High Commander Vexkar stood before the Imperial Council, his scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights. "The humans mock us with their supposed benevolence," he growled, displaying holographic images of the Hope Eternal, a vessel larger than our mightiest warship, equipped with technology that could revolutionize our military, wasted on healing our enemies. Council Elder Zarshi clicked her mandibles in disapproval. "The humans have upheld every treaty, Vexkar. Their medical ships have saved countless Kraxan lives. And that is precisely why they must be stopped." Vexkar slammed his clawed hand on the ancient stone table. "With each act of mercy, they bind more worlds to their cause, not through conquest or strength, but through this insidious compassion. They are expanding their influence faster than any empire in galactic history." The council chamber fell silent. Vexkar pressed his advantage. "Our intelligence suggests the Hope Eternal carries their most advanced medical technology. Technology that could give us an edge in the coming conflicts. The ship's current position, isolated near the neutral zone, presents an opportunity we cannot ignore." Back on the Hope Eternal, Sarah Chen was elbow-deep in a complex neural reconstruction when the first alarm sounded. The patient, a young Rigelian child, had been caught in the crossfire of the border skirmishes. Their neural pathways were so badly damaged that Sarah had to manually guide the nanobots through the reconstruction process. "Director," Iris's voice carried an unfamiliar note of urgency. "3 Kraxan warships have dropped out of FTL. They're charging weapons." Sarah's hands remained steady as she completed the delicate procedure. "That's impossible. We're a clearly marked medical vessel. Contact Captain Rodriguez." The ship shuddered violently. Sarah immediately activated the ward's emergency protocols, her voice calm but firm. "All medical staff, secure your patients. This is not a drill. Iris, deploy emergency stasis fields around critical care units." In the command center, Rodriguez watched in horror as the first Kraxan blast tore through their outer hull. "All hands, battle stations, emergency broadcasts on all frequencies. This is the UNSS Hope Eternal. We are a medical vessel with over 10,000 patients aboard. Cease fire immediately." The only response was another barrage of plasma fire. As emergency force fields snapped into place, Rodriguez made the call he'd hoped never to make. He pressed his palm against the quantum communicator, speaking the words that would change the course of galactic history. "Earth Command, this is Hope Eternal. We are under attack by Kraxan forces, implementing Ghost Protocol. Authorization Rodriguez 770. They attacked a hospital ship. I repeat, they attacked a hospital ship. As the message was sent, Sarah Chen worked frantically to evacuate her most critical patients. Around her, medical staff of a dozen species fought to save lives even as their own were in danger. Through the viewport, she could see escape pods launching into space, each one carrying precious cargo of wounded and healers. The Kraxan ships continued their assault, methodically targeting the Hope Eternal's medical bays. What they didn't notice was the quantum pulse that Rodriguez's message had triggered a signal that was already racing toward Earth at speeds that should have been impossible. In the darkness between stars, something stirred. Humanity had always known this day might come, the day when their commitment to peace would be mistaken for weakness. They had prepared accordingly. The price of compassion would prove very high indeed. Silent thunder. In the first moments after the attack began, the galaxy held its breath. The Hope Eternal's distress calls echoed across every emergency frequency, carrying with them the sounds that would haunt 1,000 species. The screams of the wounded, the desperate pleas of doctors trying to save their patients, and the terrible silence when some of those calls suddenly ceased. High Commander Vexkar watched from his flagship as his forces systematically dismantled the massive hospital ship. "Send teams to secure their medical databases," he ordered. "The humans' technology will serve a greater purpose under Kraxan control." But something was wrong. His tactical officer, normally stoic, was trembling. "Sir, we're detecting anomalies. Quantum disturbances unlike anything in our records." In the Hope Eternal's Andromeda ward, Dr. Chen worked frantically to save what she could. The emergency stasis fields were holding, but barely. She'd just finished evacuating the last of her critical care patients when she felt it. A subtle vibration through the deck plates, different from the weapon's fire. "Iris," she called out. "What was that?" The AI's response was curious. "Director, I'm detecting multiple quantum signatures, but they don't match any known drive configurations." In high orbit above Earth, Admiral Helena Santos stood on the bridge of a ship that officially didn't exist. The Aedilis Nemesis was the flagship of humanity's Shadow Fleet, vessels built in secret over decades, hidden in pocket dimensions created by theoretical physics that most species believed impossible. "Ghost Protocol confirmed," her XO reported. "The Hope Eternal is under attack. Casualties. Casualties are significant, Admiral." Santos's face might have been carved from stone. "Deploy the fleet, all of it, across the galaxy, in places between spaces that the Kraxan Empire's sensors couldn't detect." Humanity's true military power stirred to life. The Shadow Fleet had been built with a single purpose: to ensure that no one would ever mistake human compassion for weakness. Back on the Hope Eternal, Captain Rodriguez watched his ship die piece by piece, but there was a grim satisfaction in his eyes as he monitored a different set of readings. "They never asked," he muttered. "Never asked why we built our hospital ships so large." The first indication that something had changed came when Vexkar's tactical officer screamed. Where there had been empty space around his ships, darkness was bleeding into reality. Not the darkness of space, but something deeper, the black of event horizons, of singularities controlled and weaponized. The Shadow Fleet emerged from their quantum pockets like avenging angels. Their hulls seemed to drink in light, covered in materials that denied the basic laws of physics. They were warships built by a species that had chosen peace but prepared for war. "This is Admiral Helena Santos of the Earth War Fleet." The transmission cut across all frequencies, in a voice colder than the void. "You have attacked a vessel protected under Galactic Convention Article 7. You have murdered doctors, nurses, and patients. We gave you the chance to respect our mercy." Vexkar found himself backing away from his command console as the tactical display showed more and more human ships appearing. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands, each one bristling with weapons that his sensors couldn't even categorize. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice cracked. "Their weapons, the energy readings, they're using controlled singularities as ammunition. In the Hope Eternal's remains, Dr. Chen watched through a cracked viewport as humanity's hidden fleet took up defensive positions around the wounded hospital ship. The sight filled her with complex emotions: pride and sadness, relief and regret. "Iris," she asked softly, "did you know about all of this?" The eye was quiet for a moment. "Director, humanity's greatest strength has always been its duality. We can heal the sick and fight the wicked. We can show mercy to our friends and unleash hell upon those who mistake kindness for weakness." Admiral Santos stood on her bridge, watching the Kraxan ships with the dispassionate eyes of a surgeon deciding where to cut. "All ships, maintain position. Let them see what they've awakened. Let them understand exactly what humanity has held in check all these years." The Shadow Fleet's ships hung in space like fragments of night given form. Their very presence seemed to bend light around them, a visual reminder that humanity's scientific advancement hadn't been focused solely on healing. "You believed our mercy made us weak," Santos' transmission continued. "You saw our hospital ships and thought us soft. Let me educate you on behalf of Earth Command. We do not heal because we cannot fight. We heal because we choose to. You have just removed that choice." Proportional response. The Kraxan Empire had always prided itself on understanding warfare. They had classified every known species' military doctrine, analyzed countless battle strategies, and prepared countermeasures for any conceivable attack. But as High Commander Vexkar watched the sensor readings from the human fleet, he realized they had fundamentally misunderstood humanity's true nature. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as his sensors tried to make sense of the human vessel's capabilities. "Their technological level. This can't be right." "Sir," his science officer interrupted, "we're detecting quantum-level disruptions throughout local space. The human ships, they're not just using advanced technology. They're breaking physics as we understand it." Admiral Santos's voice came again, addressing not just the Kraxan ships, but all listening frequencies across the sector. "To all non-combatant vessels in range, clear the area immediately. What follows will serve as humanity's definition of proportional response." The Shadow Fleet moved with impossible precision, their black hulls flowing like liquid night. As the Kraxan ships opened fire, their energy weapons simply disappeared, absorbed into the strange materials coating the human vessels. "Target their weapons first," Santos ordered, her voice steady. "Demonstrate the difference between those who choose peace and those who fear war." The human response began with a single shot from the Nemesis. A pinpoint of absolute darkness leaped from the flagship's bow, crossing the space between fleets in an eye blink. When it struck the lead Kraxan ship's main weapon array, reality itself seemed to hiccup. In the Hope Eternal's wreckage, Dr. Chen watched through emergency force fields as a section of the Kraxan vessel simply ceased to exist, the edges of the gap perfectly smooth, as if that portion of space had never contained matter at all. "Iris," she asked, "what kind of weapon did they use?" The AI's response was clinical. "Director, the Shadow Fleet utilizes weaponized quantum singularities. They don't destroy matter. They remove it from our universe entirely." On the Kraxan flagship's bridge, panic was setting in. Their shields, the pride of Imperial engineering, might as well have been tissue paper against the human weapons. Worse, the Shadow Fleet was being methodical, precise, surgically removing their ability to fight back without destroying their ships entirely. "This is a demonstration." Admiral Santos' transmission continued, her voice now tinged with something that might have been pity. "Your ships will be disabled, your weapons removed, but your crews will survive. They will return to your empire with a message. Humanity's mercy is a choice. It is not a weakness to be exploited, but a gift that can be withdrawn." Across the sector, other species watched in stunned silence as humanity revealed its true face. The massive hospital ships that had seemed like symbols of naive idealism were cast in a new light. Every act of healing, every mission of mercy, had been a choice made by a species that could have conquered them all. In the Kraxan Imperial Palace, the Council watched the battle feeds with growing horror. Their mighty warships were being systematically dismantled, their crews left helpless but alive. A deliberate show of power that was more terrifying than simple destruction would have been. "We thought we understood them," Elder Zarshi whispered. "All these years, we interpreted their focus on medical technology as a sign of weakness. We never asked why a species would build hospital ships the size of battlecruisers." Back in the battle zone, the Shadow Fleet continued its precise operation. Each shot removed another weapon, another engine, another threat. The Kraxan ships were being transformed into powerless hulks, their crews forced to watch as humanity demonstrated its absolute technological superiority. Final warning, Santos broadcast. You have 1 hour to evacuate all personnel from your military installations across Kraxan space. We will then remove those facilities from existence. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is humanity showing you the consequence of attacking those under our protection. Dr. Chen, working to stabilize the Hope Eternal's remaining medical systems, felt a deep sadness as she watched. "Iris, when this is over, will things ever be the same?" The AI's response was thoughtful. "Director, perhaps they shouldn't be. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity's dedication to healing wasn't born of inability, but of choice. Sometimes, the most important lessons are the most painful to learn." As the hour drew to a close, the Shadow Fleet's message was clear. Humanity had not built its medical ships, developed its healing technology, and dedicated itself to saving lives because it was weak. It had done so because it was strong enough to choose mercy over might. That choice had been violated. The consequence would reshape galactic civilization forever. The weight of knowledge. The galaxy changed in the hours following humanity's demonstration. As promised, precisely 1 hour after Admiral Santos' warning, every major Kraxan military installation simply vanished. Not destroyed, removed with surgical precision, leaving civilian infrastructure untouched. It was a display of power so absolute that it bordered on the divine. In the Galactic Council's emergency session, representatives from 1,000 species gathered to process what they had witnessed. The massive holographic displays showed the remains of the Hope Eternal, now surrounded by medical ships from dozens of worlds offering assistance. Alongside these images played footage of the Shadow Fleet's operation, the systematic neutralization of the Kraxan forces. "We have all fundamentally misunderstood humanity," the Rigelian ambassador addressed the assembly. "We saw their hospital ships, their medical outreach programs, their constant offers of aid, and we interpreted these actions through our own cultural lenses. We assumed they focused on healing because they could not wage war." In orbit around Earth, Admiral Santos stood in a secure briefing room, reporting directly to the Human Federation Council. The quantum-encrypted transmission carried her words to the leaders of humanity's colonies and outposts across known space. "The Shadow Fleet remains deployed at strategic points throughout Kraxan space," she reported. "Their military capability has been reduced to pre-spaceflight levels, with 0 civilian casualties. The message has been delivered." On the council screens, the Federation president leaned forward. "And the Hope Eternal survivors." Dr. Chen reports that thanks to the emergency protocols and the quick response of allied species, we managed to save 60% of the patients and 80% of the medical staff. The loss of life. Santos paused, her composure cracking slightly. The loss of life was still significant. In the temporary medical facility established on the neutral world of New Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chen worked tirelessly alongside colleagues from across the galaxy. The wounded from the Hope Eternal had been evacuated here, where the best medical minds of a dozen species had gathered to help. "Doctor," Iris's voice came through her neural link. "You have a priority communication from the Kraxan Empire." Chen's hand stilled over her patient, a young Andorian whose life support had barely survived the attack. "Put it through." The holographic image that formed showed Elder Zarshi, her scales dulled with stress and her ceremonial robes replaced by simple working clothes. "Dr. Chen, I come to beg forgiveness and to offer what help we can." In the days following the attack, similar scenes played out across known space. Species that had viewed humanity with condescension or suspicion now saw them in a terrifying new light. Here was a civilization that possessed the power to remove entire military complexes from existence, yet chose to build massive hospital ships instead. The Shadow Fleet remained a visible reminder of humanity's capabilities, their black ships holding position above every major Kraxan world. They took no hostile action, launched no attacks. They simply waited, silent witnesses to the consequences of violating humanity's core principles. In the New Geneva facility, Dr. Chen received another visitor. Admiral Santos herself, out of her uniform and wearing simple civilian clothes. "How are they?" the Admiral asked, looking at the wards full of recovering patients. Chen led her through the facility, past beings of all species working together to heal the wounded. "We're saving as many as we can. The Allied response has been overwhelming. Even the Kraxan have sent their best medical personnel." Santos nodded slowly. "Fear is a powerful motivator." "No," Chen corrected gently. "I don't think that's it. They're here because they finally understand. Our dedication to healing wasn't a sign of weakness. It was proof of our strength. It takes more power to save a life than to end one." In the Galactic Council, the debate continued about how to respond to this shift in the political landscape. Humanity had revealed itself as a sleeping giant, possessed of technology far beyond what they had shared. But instead of conquest or dominion, they had used that technology to build hospitals, to heal, to save lives. Perhaps, the Andorian representative suggested, we should be more concerned about what this reveals about ourselves. We saw their mercy and called it weakness. What does that say about our own societies? As the fourth day after the attack drew to a close, humanity made its first official statement to the galaxy at large. It was broadcast in all known languages, across all frequencies. The message was simple. We are humanity. We choose to heal not because we cannot destroy, but because we understand the weight of that choice. Our hospital ships will continue their mission. Our medical technology remains available to all who need it, but let the fate of the Kraxan military stand as an eternal reminder. Our mercy is a choice, freely given. Do not mistake it for weakness again. A gift freely given. 1 month after the attack on the Hope Eternal, humanity began rebuilding. Not just their destroyed hospital ship, but the very foundation of galactic relations. The new vessel that took shape in Earth's orbital shipyards was even larger than its predecessor, its white hull gleaming with the same pristine brilliance. But there was something different about it, something that made every species who saw it pause in reflection. The UNSS Hope Eternal I. Dr. Sarah Chen read the name slowly as she stood on the observation deck of the New Geneva facility. "They're keeping the name." "Of course we are," Admiral Santos replied. Standing beside her, the Admiral had traded her Shadow Fleet uniform for medical whites, a symbol of humanity's return to its chosen path. Some names should never be forgotten. The new ship incorporated design elements that subtly reminded observers of the Shadow Fleet's vessels, not as a threat, but as an acknowledgement of truth. Humanity would no longer hide its full capabilities. The duality of their nature would be displayed openly, the power to heal and the power to destroy, existing in perfect balance. In the Kraxan Empire, change came swiftly. High Commander Vexkar and his conspirators faced justice, not from humanity, but from their own people. The Empire, stripped of its military might, began a remarkable transformation. Their first act was to request permission to send students to Earth's medical academies. "We wish to learn," Elder Zarshi announced to the Galactic Council, "not just the technology of healing, but the philosophy behind it. We understood power only as the ability to destroy. Humanity has shown us a different kind of strength." The Shadow Fleet gradually withdrew from Kraxan space, their black ships fading back into the quantum pockets from which they'd emerge. But everyone knew they were still there, watching, protecting. A guardian force that allowed humanity's medical missions to continue unimpeded. On the bridge of the Hope Eternal Aya, Captain Rodriguez's successor, Captain Maria Patel, reviewed her ship's first mission. The vessel would retrace its predecessor's route, visiting every world, healing any who needed aid. But now, there was a new understanding between healer and patient. Iris, Dr. Chen called out as she organized her new medical bay. Ship status. The AI's response carried a note of satisfaction. All systems operational. Director. Medical bays at full capacity. We have already received treatment requests from 27 worlds, including 3 in Craxon space. The galaxy had changed in fundamental ways. Species that had once competed for military supremacy now raced to establish medical facilities. Planets that had poured resources into weapons developments suddenly found themselves building hospitals instead, not out of fear, but out of a new understanding of true power. In the Galactic Council, humanity presented a new proposition. They would share more of their advanced technology, not the weapons, but the science behind them. Knowledge of quantum mechanics, dimensional engineering, and energy manipulation would be made available for medical and civilian applications. We never wanted to be warriors, the human representative explained. We prepared for war so that we could focus on peace. Now that the galaxy understands this, we can all move forward together. The Hope Eternal Ii made its maiden voyage exactly 1 month after the attack on its predecessor. As it departed Earth's orbit, ships from every major species formed an honor guard. Among them, surprisingly, was a Craxon vessel, not a warship, but their first hospital ship, built from converted military vessels. Dr. Chen stood at the same observation window where she had watched the first Hope Eternal die. But now she smiled as she saw the endless stream of ships arriving, bringing patients, students, and colleagues from across the galaxy. "We're ready for our first patients," she announced to her multinational staff. "Let's show the galaxy what humanity does best." Admiral Santos, watching from her office on Earth, penned the final entry in her report on the incident. "In attacking our hospital ship, our enemies believed they would expose humanity's greatest weakness. Instead, they revealed our greatest strength, not our hidden fleet, not our advanced weapons, but our ability to choose peace even when war is an option." The Hope Eternal Eye carries more than medical supplies and healing technology. It carries humanity's message to the stars. True power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to heal. As the Hope Eternal Eye jumped to quantum speed, its white hull briefly shimmering with the same dark energy that powered the Shadow Fleet, the galaxy watched and remembered. Humanity had not changed. They had simply revealed their full nature. They were healers by choice, warriors by necessity, and now everyone understood the profound strength required to be both. The hospital ship's quantum wake traced a path between the stars, carrying with it humanity's renewed promise to the galaxy. Mercy, freely given by those strong enough to choose it. The end.